Hey guys, welcome back to California Carnivores. Today I wanted to answer a question that we get from beginners all the time, which is what are the best carnivorous plants for houseplants? Let's face it, houseplants have never been so popular as they are right now. People are all trying to fill up their shelves and windowsills with as many plants as humanly possible. I'm doing the same thing. But 80% of the carnivorous plants that we grow and sell are actually temperate plants from North America that require full sun, or at least something close to that, and cold winters. And so actually lots of carnivorous plants aren't the best house plants. And that would include, the very popular Venus flytrap, the beautiful American pitcher plants, temperate sundews that need a really hard dormancy that are native to Europe or North America. Those guys need to go dormant in the winter time, and that can be hard to do inside. And they need so much sun that it can be hard to grow those indoors. Now, if you have a super sunny windowsill that's just cooking hot sun, you could try Venus flytrap there. But for the most part, houseplants are going to be from these guys that I have right here in front of me. And they are some really beautiful, wonderful options. So don't be too heartbroken that your Venus flytrap isn't going to do too well where your pothos is on a dark windowsill. Now, let's talk about what I have here first. The three best ones would be, first off, Cape Sundew. This was actually my very first plant that I got when I was 11 years old from Peter. It's actually the one, and it was a Cape Sundew, this wide leaf Cape Sundew. And they're really super beautiful. They're also very easy to grow and very forgiving. The other one is my personal favorite plant, probably in the whole wide world, and that is the Mexican Butterworts. The Mexican Butterworts are like beautiful little African violets that have sticky leaves that catch fruit flies. They flower all the time, just like an African violet, and they last a pretty long time too. And they're hummingbird pollinated in the wild where they grow, and so their flowers are really super beautiful. I also really like their sticky leaves. They can come in all kinds of colors, like purple and red and pink, especially when grown under super high light. And then tropical pitcher plants. American pitcher plants, they're from the United States, lots of sun, cold winters, not good for inside. But the tropical pitcher plants are fantastic. This is Nepenthes Ventricosa, which happens to be probably the perfect beginner plant if you wanted to start growing a Nepenthes. It's also very easy and very forgiving. And Nepenthes are vining plants. Lots of them can have nodes like the ones behind me that are like a foot apart. These ones have very tight little nodes, and so it's great for a windowsill because it won't get too viney too fast. You will see fancier, bigger, rarer Nepenthes, like Nepenthes loi or hamada, and those are really amazing, but they take a little bit more care and a little bit more control than the average person is going to be able to pull off on a windowsill. You could still do it if you're really attentive and it's a very perfect situation, but I always tell people it's better to have a beautiful Nepenthes ventricosa with big beautiful pitchers on it than a Nepenthes hamada or raja that never got much bigger than that. And so a little bit about care. They're still going to need quite a bit of sun. So like your pothos can grow in the back corner 10 feet away from a window and still make leaves. These guys are not that way. They're all going to want at least 3 to 4 hours of direct sun. So an east or west facing windowsill is really super great for these guys. North is probably the worst. And you'd want it to be really clear windowsill, like not too many trees in front of that. And of course, this is a no-brainer, but you're going to have to open up those blinds to let the sun in. All carnivorous plants require distilled water or water from a reverse osmosis filter. Rain also works, but you'll want to sort that out before you pick some up probably, or just after anyways. And then Cape Sundews, probably the easiest. All you really have to do is keep them sitting. The pot just keeps them sitting in like 2 or 3 inches of water all the time. You can never overdo that. It takes no watering finesse at all. That's how the 11-year-old me was able to still have this Cape Sundew today, because they're very forgiving. Even if it died, if you let it dry out and it died all the way back to the pot, it can come back from the roots. So don't ever give up on a Cape Sundew. They'll also drop seeds everywhere, so you can make a lot of new Cape Sundews to give to friends. The Butterworts, on the other hand, still distilled water, but they can be a little bit trickier because in the spring and summer, they make wide sticky leaves like the ones up here for catching insects. But then in Mexico where they grow, they have very dry winters. And so they grow next to cacti and succulents, and they have to do something to survive those dry periods. And you can see these are already transitioning from wide sticky leaves to these tight little leaves that look like a hidden chick. There's little succulent leaves that allow it to store water and get through that dry period. So in the spring and summer, when they have the wide sticky leaves, keep them sitting in water all the time. But when they make these little succulent leaves, you need to take them out of the water and allow them to get fairly dry. You can see this pot here, I've let it get pretty dry. You can hear it kind of crunching. See that? And it could even get drier than that, believe it or not. As delicate as they look, it's important to let them get a little bit dry in the winter time. And then again, when they make the sticky leaves, get them back in the water. Just follow their lead. You don't have to do anything special. They'll do it all on their own. Watering a tropical pitcher plant, these guys cannot sit in water all the time. You might pull that off for a little while and think that I was lying. But after 6 months or a year, or maybe a year and a half, it's hard to know how long it will take. All of a sudden it will rot and all these leaves will go black very quickly and it'll just kind of die. So it's important, like a regular house plant, probably lots of you have learned this lesson with other plants like a begonia or something like that. It's important to let the soil get a little bit dry before you water it again. And so probably that's going to be about twice a week in the summertime if it's really hot and dry, maybe like once in the winter. Things slow down in the winter time, so you don't need to water as often, usually. And watch out for things like heaters and air conditioning, because that's going to make it dry out faster. And the sphagnum moss that it grows in will get kind of blonde on top when it starts to get ready to be watered again. So look for that. That's another good tip on that. So that's light and watering. They're catching their fertilizer from the bugs that they catch. But in the house, sometimes bugs can be a little bit slim. So we can give them fertilizer directly to take care of that. The Schultz cactus and succulent fertilizer is great for the Sundews and the Butterworts. Follow the instructions. I just put 12 to 14 drops of it into a mist bottle and just mist the leaves. You'll see the Sundew leaves curl up after 10 or 15 minutes like they've caught something and uncurl usually the next day. That's how you know it's working. Tropical pitcher plants, you can mist them with the fertilizer too on the leaves. They will absorb some of that. But the best way to feed a tropical pitcher plant is with an Osmocote pellet, which is a slow-release fertilizer pellet normally used in houseplants to put on top of the soil, and every time you water it feeds a little bit. But you can just put that into the pitcher itself, and it's like 1,000 bugs. It'll slowly release fertilizer just like the insects would do and feed it. And that is really key to making new pitchers, red pitchers with that wide lip that everybody likes. I think that's just about everything. Oh, one more thing that I always like to mention about carnivorous plants is they have a really high leaf turnover. So I have a pothos in my house. I don't think it's lost a leaf since I put it there. These guys, they're not that way. They're always going to be transitioning through leaves. So on a tropical pitcher plant, the new leaves are coming off of the center. This is the life of the plant, the crown. And they'll form off the ends and make new pitchers like that. They're never gonna make new pitchers again on these old ones. And it's totally normal for them to slowly go brown like this from the top. It's smart to leave that ugly little pitcher on there with that Osmocote pellet in there, because it's a little energy pump that's giving new energy. It's digesting down here, so even though it's not pretty up here anymore, it's still adding to those big pitchers there. But if you hate it and you're persnickety, and I'm kind of persnickety too, you can always cut off all the brown ones. It won't hurt it too much, and it does make it look nicer. So you can just take those off. The little Butterworts, their leaves are almost made of nothing. They're almost little dreams. And when they die, they just become little tiny papery leaves like that. So you can see when I pull, you can pull them away, you don't need scissors. But Butterworts also have no roots. And so if you just pull like this, it's real easy to pull the whole thing out. So just gently, gentle like a tomato, and just put it there. And then you can just gently pull these little leaves off. Make sure you don't pull it out. And that doesn't have to be done either. But again, for you persnickety people at home, and let's face it, lots of us plant people are, you can pull those off. Cape Sundews, I kind of cleaned, well, I cleaned most of these up. But this is a variety I didn't clean up. This is Orange Sherbet, which is an orange Cape Sundew, really super beautiful. But these leaves on the bottom are not super beautiful. And so you can just cut these off too, if they're bothering you. I mean, they're kind of beautiful. We have to enjoy decay. It can't all be about spring, but also, you can cut these off. I'm not gonna do them all right now, but you probably get the gist. And just really quickly, there are lots of different kinds of all these guys. So in Cape Sundews, this is the old wide leaf variety. It has wide leaves, especially when compared to this little narrow leaf variety. You get that question a lot too? What's the difference? Wide and narrow. And there's also an albino variety called Alba. It can't make red pigment, so it has white flowers too. I already showed you the orange sherbet. And then in the butterworts, there are so many different kinds of butterworts. There are about 200 different kinds of species, and that's in the wild. And then we can cross all these together, and I do that all the time. And so so you'll find all kinds of, like, hundreds of different varieties. And same with the tropical pitcher plants. Almost 200 species that all cross together all the time. So you will find so many different kinds. Don't limit yourself to just one of any of these. The proper way to obsess with plants is in numbers and in mass. That's what I've done here. It's the grand diversity that makes them nice, and you need 100 of each. They'll take over your entire life if you let them, which happened to me a long time ago. It's bliss. Join us. I hope you guys learned a lot about which of these guys grow well inside your homes. You can always track them down at californiacarnivores.com, and like and follow and comment in any of our videos. Thanks so much, guys. Have a great night.